I had a pound for every single time Desi mums would say to me that I'm all or nothing, I'd be a millionaire. And in this video, I'm going to tell you why you prefer an all or nothing mentality and what's keeping you in the same place that you're in right now, as opposed to losing that weight that you want to, losing the baby fat and getting in amazing shape and staying in shape forever. And when we work with Asian mums, they always come to the same conclusion, that they're all or nothing. They're on a diet, then they're off a diet. They're on training, then they're off training. Then they're eating whatever they want, then they're on a strict regime, and they're having no extras. Now, the reason why they enjoy this is because they lack one simple skill that is specific to the Desi culture, and that is inability to say no in social events around other family members and other friends and family. Now, it's easier to be all or nothing because you don't get any wiggle room when you're all. You're on this, you do the exact same thing, you do this, you don't say no, and you just say, I can't do it because I'm doing X, Y, and Z. It's easier to completely abolish things than it is to actually eat in moderation. So when you go for dinner, it's easier to not look down the list of all of the chicken tikkas, the paneers, the sags, and samosas and say, no, I can't have any of those, I'm going to stick to my salad. It's easier to do that than actually go, hey, I'm going to have a bit of this, I'm going to have a bit of that, and a bit of this. The reason why, because it creates a rule in your mind. It creates a rule of, I can't have this, I can have that. So it's easier to filter out, and it's easier to excuse yourself and say, I can't have any of that, I can only have this. And normally that comes at the cost of missing out on social events, not enjoying yourself, and just generally being in that tunnel vision focus until the glass breaks, until there is a moment of fuck it, until there is a I can't be arsed with this, or the stress comes apart of being a mum, and you end up eating the whole house down. So it worked in a fashion for a short space of time, and then they're back to square one as they were before. The reason why this is easier is because they can't say no and they can't moderate their food sources. Moderation, it comes in so many different facets, but ultimately it comes down to a few different things. One is, in social scenarios, you want to be agreeable. Now, most people have an agreeable trait. If you do, you are generally going to suck at dieting more so than someone that is not agreeable. An agreeable personality, if someone suggests something, you say, that sounds like a good idea, actually, as opposed to disregard for logic and actually what the mechanics are behind that decision. You will be agreeable with someone else's impression. So when you're sitting around a table with 10 other people and you're agreeable and someone says, let's get a bottle of wine, you're more than likely going to get the bottle of wine, hit that fuck it button, and now you're nothing. Whereas if you're not agreeable, you may say, no, actually, I'm not having a drink, or I'm good for now, don't worry about it, I'll just have one. That's a non-agreeable trait. But if you're agreeable, then anytime you're in a social scenario when other people are looking at you to make a decision or to be part of a group or to see the hierarchy within a group and not be the one left out or the not person that's not drinking, not having fun, then you're always going to succumb to the wishes of someone else. That's why when you're all or nothing, it's easier to compartmentalize, because when you're all, you're going to say, no, I'm fine, I'm not going to go to that event, I'm going to eat beforehand, so I'm going to completely abolish anything at that particular event, I'm not going to do it. Whereas when you're nothing, you're drinking your shots on the table, you're drinking your champagne, you're drinking the wine, you're having 3 courses, you're having dessert when you get home, you're eating blooming, burfy for breakfast. There's a massive trait when it comes to agreeableness that has to be solved in order to you to get the results that you want to get to. And the second reason why most Desi mums love a all or nothing mentality as opposed to something that's a little bit more moderate is they love a shiny object. They love the element of fast results, quick this, get me out of this shit place ASAP, I need to lose 5 pounds tomorrow, because of their worth, in the scale weight, because most of them are attached to the scale weight and what that means for them in terms of their life. I need to be 65 kilos to feel happy. Whatever it is, that never really is the true thing. It just comes down to how you feel internally, not the scale weight that defines you. But they will want to get from point A to point B as fast as possible for whatever human reason. Maybe they were like that before they had a little one. They were just wrapped up in this cycle of dieting of where they wanted fast results and they didn't want to give up for a longer period of time to make that happen. They were looking for the golden ticket to make something happen very, very quickly. So they're conditioning themselves to go all in on something very, very aggressive, because A, it's easier to go all in on something. You convince yourself that you're ready to change. You convince yourself that I'm ready to make this big outlay. I'm ready to go and do a juice diet. I'm ready to cut carbs out. I'm ready to go and exercise every single day. Whatever the blooming thing is, they convince themselves that they're ready for it. And then when life happens, when the agreeableness trait kicks in, when they're out at dinner, when they've had a bad day, then it all comes crashing down, because they're attached to the absolute drop on the scale. They're attached to that short-term win that makes themselves feel like they're going in the right direction. And when you're attached to a big drop in the scale of 1 kilo a week or 2 kilos a week, it can get very competitive, it can get very addictive to actually seeing that scale weight drop and to be super meticulous when it comes to stepping on the scales and expecting results. But then when that doesn't happen, when the weight doesn't match their expectations, they're back to that all or nothing mentality, and they're not doing a diet, they're not being moderate, or they're not actually doing anything towards their health and fitness. They'll start next Monday. So when you wrap all these things up, the agreeableness in social situations, the shiny object syndrome of wanting fast results very, very quickly and doing abnormal things to get that fat loss because they want to see that drop on the scale, it ends up in this disaster of just either all or nothing, and you can never take all for the longest period of time, because the biggest thing around fat loss and staying in shape for life is actually consistency. Like, if you do 70% for 15 weeks versus all in for 4 weeks and then you're off for 9 weeks, it's equivalent of going 4 steps forwards and 10 steps backwards, but thinking that you did great because you went 4 steps really fast, versus the 70%, the consistency is 10 steps forwards and 1 step backwards over a longer period of time. It's going to breed better results. And the easiest way to get out of this for most Desi mums is to simply expand your time horizon of how long something should take. Really simple. Is that when you expand that time horizon to 1 year, 5 years and 10 years, is that you don't want to go through these cycles of dropping on a crash diet, then putting all the weight back on. If you see things from a year perspective and look at it as like, oh well, if I change in the next 6 months, or if I make these changes in the next 3-5 months instead of the next 6 weeks, I can actually take a more moderate approach. I can actually learn the skills of maintenance. I can actually learn the skills of dieting, as opposed to yes on one day and then absolutely fuck it on the other day. It doesn't make sense. So moderate across the whole 12 weeks, 16 weeks and 18 weeks, and learn consistency. Because when you're staying in shape for life, nothing really changes outside of the diet. You just get more calories, you have to do less exercise, and you're learning to be moderate and enjoy yourself whilst also staying in shape, which doesn't come at the cost of crash diets. It doesn't come at the cost of alienating yourself completely from social events. It comes at having enough to enjoy yourself, but not enough to go 10 steps backwards. So you're part of this crew of wanting those shiny object syndromes very quickly. You want crash diets. It's easier to go all or nothing and go 5 steps forward fast and 10 steps back even faster. You need to change that approach. If you don't change that approach, you will not survive in getting permanent fat loss and staying in shape for life. Flip it on its head, expand the time horizon, do something for a longer period of time, do 70% for consistency, learn how to not be that agreeable in social occasions, learn how to be moderate and enjoy social events without going completely over the top, and understand that crash diets and eating detox diets and juice diets and Weight Watchers and low carb is a short-term win and a long-term step backwards, because you can't do that for life. And if you want to eat the way that you want to eat, you have to learn how to have that in the right amount of portion sizes, the right amount of food to actually stay where you want to get to. You can't eat a 90 kilo person's diet being 60 kilos. You have to learn what it's like to be 60 kilos and eat the right amount for a 60 kilo person. Save yourself the heartache of going 10 steps backwards every single time you diet for those short-term wins of 2 steps forwards, and try something different. If you like the content, head over to Instagram and go over to nathan.autonomy for more information, more educational videos and more results with people just like you, where we help over thousands of South Asian guys and girls get in amazing shape and stay in shape for life using our 6 phases methods. Check us out for more educational videos.